Welcome to Be Smart, the podcast about money, the podcast about highbrow money, lowbrow money, and everything in between, how not to be an idiot with your money, because there is a lot of that going around. So I've been doing this a long time. I've been in the finance industry since 1999. I've traded options, I've traded index arbitrage, I've traded ETFs. Then I decided I can make a living writing about trading. Then I decided I can make a living talking about trading. So after 22 years of doing this, when you get down to rock bottom, what is this all about? What is the goal of money? Is the goal to make millions of dollars? Is the goal to become a millionaire? Because when you go to the bookstore and you go to the personal finance section, what do you see? I mean, aside from the Dave Ramsey books, but you see these books. They're crazy. It's like 7 easy ways to become a millionaire, 10 easy ways to become a millionaire. And all of these books, there's like this conventional wisdom in personal finance that is totally screwed up. They say that you become a millionaire by cutting expenses to the bone. That is how you get to $1 million, by cutting expenses to the bone. And it is good to manage your expenses because, if you spend like crazy, you can get yourself into trouble. But what I've found in my travels is that the number of people who are problem spenders, who are habitual spenders, is pretty small. They do exist, and I do know some personally, but it is a small minority of people. And it's this idea, this poisonous idea that wealth is created by managing the expense side of the ledger. Buy generic brands and you become a millionaire. Leave lousy tips and you will become a millionaire. You will become a millionaire $5 at a time. And by the way, you can do this. And lots of people do this. They read these books. They go to Barnes & Noble, they buy 7 ways to become a millionaire, and they start leaving lousy tips. And by the time they get to about age 60, they're a millionaire. And they did it the hard way. It's the hard way. It's the shitty way. It's not fun. If you want to become a millionaire, do it the fun way. So part of this deal is about having fun. Because if you spend your entire adult life miserable because you're trying to get a 7-figure bank account by being a cheap bastard, I would not exactly characterize that as winning. That is losing. Losing is spending your entire life being miserable. So let's talk about these FIRE people for a minute. Financial independence, retire early. These idiots, deep down, believe that you can do without material possessions. And they believe that material possessions do not bring you happiness. That you should live in the van down by the river. And they actually sell this. They call it van life. And they make it sound really appealing. You're in this van and you have a bed and you're listening to waterfalls in the middle of nature and all that crap. Let me let you in on a little secret. Material possessions make people happy. Material possessions make people happy. Sure, there's other things that make you happy, but it is an indisputable fact that material possessions do make you happy. So I have 4 nice watches. I'm kind of a watch guy, although I haven't bought one in about 3 or 4 years. The watch I am wearing right now is an Omega Speedmaster. It's titanium, has a leather strap. It's a very cool watch. I bought it in Vegas about 5 years ago and actually got a deal on it. I hadn't worn it in a long time. I put it on and I was like, damn, this is a pretty nice watch. So I've been showing off my watch. The watch makes me happy. It's a cool watch. I like cool stuff. And yes, there are other things that make me happier than material possessions, like my cats, my music, my wife, my house, but I like having stuff. Most people like having stuff. It is a perfectly natural human instinct to want to accumulate stuff. And this is what people say all the time. They say, well, stuff gets old. and it wears out and it breaks and it ends up in the trash. And then you have to get new stuff. So what's the point? There doesn't have to be a point. It's just fine. You're on the hedonic treadmill, and that's great. You buy stuff, it wears out. You buy new stuff, you do this over and over again, and that's what life is all about, and it makes us happy. Where we get ourselves into trouble is when we get ego or status involved, because that is a bottomless pit, because there isn't enough stuff that you can buy to satisfy that urge. There aren't enough suits. There aren't enough clothes. There aren't enough cars if you are buying to get your ego or status involved. People spend too much money for a lot of reasons, but frequently it is because of ego and status and showing off. So I have no problem if you want to accumulate stuff on one condition. You don't do it with debt. Now, that's the other thing with the conventional wisdom and personal finance. There's some anti-debt crusaders out there. And the biggest one is Dave Ramsey. He's probably the most famous ones. And he offers people a very extreme solution. He says you should completely eliminate your debt. And you should cut up your credit cards, cancel your credit cards, and live off the grid and use cash and put cash in envelopes and all the stuff. There's this envelope system. Okay, that guy sucks, all right? And maybe that advice is good for some people. They need to hear that. They need rules. Some people do need rules just to survive. But I don't need those rules. You don't need those rules. We're smarter than that. I'm not going to infantilize you with a bunch of rules. I think you can handle a credit card. I think it's okay. I think you're going to do fine with a credit card because this is 2021. A lot of places don't even accept cash anymore. This is becoming common. There's cashless businesses. And I like cash. I like carrying cash around. Cash is anonymous. But a lot of places require credit cards, and a credit card is a convenient way to pay for things. You can't do everything with cash. You know, I don't know any rich people who use cash all the time. I don't see rich people trying to get a hotel room with cash unless they're getting takeout from a strip club in a Super 8. I don't know any rich people who don't have credit cards. Right? This advice that you should cut up all your credit cards and live off the grid. I don't know any rich people that do that. I really don't. They all have credit cards and they all do fine with them. Okay, I am allegedly a rich guy. I have credit cards. I have 3 credit cards that I use pretty regularly. I buy stuff. I pay my bill at the end of the month. It's not that hard. Going off the grid and using cash is not what I would call a habit of highly effective people. And to be perfectly frank, that's for people who are just getting by. So I have a little more ambition than that. I want to do more than just get by. And some people say that credit cards are evil. They're evil, right? How many times have you heard that? Credit cards are evil. Well, other people say that guns are evil. And the gun rights people say guns don't shoot people, people shoot people. It's the same for credit cards. Credit cards don't run up debt. People run up debt. It's just a tool. It's not good. It's not evil. It's just a thing. It can be used for good or evil. So the question is, should you take this advice and eliminate all your debt? Is debt evil? Well, I have mixed feelings about that. I mean, debt allows you to do certain things. It's definitely not good to have a lot of it, and I'm in favor of minimizing your debt. I actually eliminated my debt, and it is awesome. I don't have a mortgage on my house. I paid it off 4 years ago. It's the best thing in the world not to have a mortgage payment. Having no debt is awesome. I highly recommend it. But this living off the grid stuff is absolute crap. Now, having said that, you should not be making monthly payments on a dishwasher. You should not be making monthly payments on a refrigerator. You should not be making monthly payments on a litter robot. Use the credit cards for convenience. Pay them off at the end of the month. To actually borrow money with credit cards is absolutely insane because the average credit card interest rate is close to 20%. And if you don't pay down your balance, you get charged interest on the interest. I mean, if you really want to borrow money, don't use a credit card. Go to the bank, walk in the front door, talk to one of those guys wearing a burgundy shirt, and get a personal loan for $10,000. It'll have an 8% interest rate, and it'll be an installment rate, not a revolving rate. Point is, debt causes you stress, a very specific kind of stress known as financial stress. And financial stress is some of the worst kind of stress, and stress doesn't make you happy, and I'm a big fan of being happy. And that's what this podcast is all about, is being happy. I'm not in the money business. I'm in the happy business. And debt does not make you happy. Debt makes you stay up at night worrying about how you're going to pay for all this shit. So I'm kind of doing this right now. I'm in the process of building the Taj Mahal. I'm building a giant house. And it's going to be a lot of debt, and I worry about it, and it scares the crap out of me. So why am I doing it? Who needs all this stress? Well, in my particular case, this has been a financial goal of mine for years, to live in my dream house, the dream house that I constructed myself. And I'm going to work like hell to make it happen. And it'll be stressful for a year or two, and then as I pay it down, it'll get better. You know, it's really hard to live a life without debt. And I'm not even sure that would be desirable. You know, walk down Madison Avenue in New York City. Look up. Look at all the buildings. You think those buildings were paid for with cash? All of them were financed with debt. The entire city, the entire skyline is financed with debt. None of that would be possible without debt. You want to go someplace where there's no debt, there's no tall buildings. It's all a matter of balance. And no personal finance expert is going to get rich by selling a middle-of-the-road solution. The solutions these people propose are always extreme. But a middle-of-the-road solution is actually usually the best solution. A little bit of debt is fine. A little bit of spending is fine. A little bit of risk in the stock market is fine. Tune in next time on Be Smart when we talk about prepaying your mortgage. Until then, don't do anything I wouldn't do.